you're to be congratulated. That's a distinct honor to be able to, especially nationwide. That's the that's really a key. So you need to promote that.
I'm trying to.
I mean,
I'm not bashful about bringing it up. I think you can tell.
What's really, I think, very distinctive is people that live in the Midwest, especially people that live in the St. Louis area. It's amazing how many cities are noted for being the best area to live for various reasons. I know Florissant recently did, Glendale did now, O'Fallon did, I believe, Wentzville did. So I mean, we're talking, and I'm talking regionally now. We're talking in the geographical region we live in. There's a lot of good things going on that people don't realize.
Right. Yeah.
And they have to.
Well, I find it interesting though that you and I were at a meeting just the other evening with Professor Terry Jones from UMSL, and he mentioned that the number one thing that people like about living in St. Louis County is the localness of their community. The fact that they live in they have a small town feel in a cosmopolitan environment, which I think makes our region unique.
Yeah, that's probably true. I haven't lived anywhere else, so I couldn't really say for sure. But it's it's definitely a pleasure to live in this area, and the people are friendly, and you don't on some trips I've taken you don't find that everywhere,
right? Which
makes it very unique. What are some of the things that happened this year on your centennial?
Well,
what did you do?
One of the things we did was we had a parade, and it was we had invited people to enter, and of course it was the parade was October the 20th, so we had a number of political entries in advance of the election, but we also had Shriners with their mini cars, and what was kind of fun was my wife and I had a tandem bicycle, and I dressed up a little bit in period costume, and I had a banner that said "Mayor," and so we managed to get through the whole parade without falling off our bike, and I think that was a lot of fun. And we had a great turnout of residents to watch the parade, and so that was pretty exciting. Of course, we through the year we do have a number of events that are very popular. Most notable of that is our jazz festival, which is always the Friday before Memorial Day, and we had very nice, good weather this year, and we probably had 2,000 to 3,000 people there, which. If you've ever seen our city hall, and that they're packed in pretty tight, but it was very exciting. And Don Wolf is a well-known jazz aficionado, is the MC, and Terry Thompson is a local musician who produces it. So, and then we are getting ready for a visit from Santa when Santa drives in on his fire truck. And the kids enjoy that, and we have the night out event, and so we have a series of events through the year that our residents really enjoy and are well attended, and they're family oriented, and that's one of the nice things in our community is that we do have a steady stream of younger people coming in. And yet we also have residents that have been there, 40, 50 years. So,
when is the Santa event coming up?
November the 30th.
November 30th?
6:30, yeah.
Okay, just in case anybody's watching this, and,
come on down.
Visit Santa Claus.
We guarantee Santa will show up.
Yeah.
he'll be there, and we have Mrs. Claus and singing Christmas carols, and it's a nice event.
Oh, sounds great. What signature events are you going to have next year with pretty much the same?
The same, yeah.
Same
those are regular.
Those are regular events.
Yeah, that are on our calendar. Yeah.
Anything special you're going to have?
Well, one of the things that we're doing is when I first became mayor, one of our projects was we had federal funding to redo Sappington. Sappington's our main street, goes north-south. And we rebuilt that street. That was originally probably one of the older roads in St. Louis County. And we rebuilt the street, added vertical curbs and historic lighting. So that project turned out very well. And we put in for a grant to do Kirkham, which is one of our main east-west streets. And we're going to do the same type of rebuild with the historic lighting for Kirkham. So that's a very big project, and I think it's going to greatly enhance the safety of the road, as well as it's also going to be an improvement to the residents from an aesthetic standpoint.
Aesthetically, it would be really nice.
Yes.
What when you rebuild those roads, how bad does that disrupt the traffic or that? I mean, is it really a nightmare?
Well, that's an art rather than a science, to design, to design the work such that it creates the least amount of inconvenience. Mm-hmm. We were pretty successful in with Sappington in not having to close the road down completely. We do actually on Sappington have some businesses. We have a grocery, which is also a catering service called Westwood Catering. And then we have right across from City Hall, we have 3 shops. So we didn't want to put them out of business. So we put together a plan that so that the road wasn't totally shut down at any one time.
So they could get to the businesses.
Right.
Yeah. I know you're past president of the St. Louis County Municipal League, and you had a lot of activity when you were president.
Yeah.
One of which was, I think they got into a best practices type thing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well,
what we're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, but one of the things that we were talking about was that we feel that there is a perception that the fact that we have so many municipalities, 90, 91, by whatever count you want to make. I even heard 93. I'm trying to figure that out, but it somehow makes our region less competitive, and I don't believe that's the case. But we also hear stories of cities that aren't managing things as well as they should be, and so we thought that it'd be best to come up with a list of what we call best practices. Actually 10 things that every city should be doing, and for 2 reasons. One, the city elected officials can look at that list and determine whether or not they're meeting the best practices, and their residents can also assess whether or not their city is achieving the best practices. I think that it's been a good program so far. It's been well received, but I think that one of the reasons is that I think if we don't do anything about it, and if we don't make sure that we're doing best practices, our state legislator is going to do it in a way that we're not going to like and won't be probably in the best interest of our residents.
That's probably very true. They tend to want to get into,
Right.
managing city or managing
right.
the areas where they're responsible for.
And there have been some bills introduced along those lines, defining best practices from a state legislative standpoint. And I think, you know, that we should be grown up enough to look at it, to solve this problem ourselves. You know, there are some cities that just aren't following the best practices. I know they're trying, and sometimes they don't even know, you know, what the best practices are. So we felt that this was, you know, sending the right message. You know, that you know, that we want to provide the best kind of government, and most accountable type of government possible.
Yeah, most transparent. As I read, it's most transparent. I mean, most of the stuff in there really concerned a lot of transparency, that, you know, the residents in those particular cities should be able to see what's going on. So
absolutely.
Municipal leagues to be applauded, you know, to take on a project like that. What else is going on in municipal league? You're still on the board, so is there anything you can talk about that's happening?
One of the things that you know, that we're watching, particularly now that the you know, bill filing in the legislature is December 1st, I believe. We're concerned about the distribution of sales tax in St. Louis County. You know, we're what they call a B or pool city. I believe you are too.
We are also, yes.
And there are some cities, Chesterfield and Fenton, that feel that the system of distributing sales tax in St. Louis County is not fair to them, and they've initiated legislative efforts to try to change that. So the league did come together and propose a solution of you know, of making it fair, but at this point there hasn't been any new legislation, and I haven't seen any legislation yet. But that's something that's always foremost in our minds, because I think the current system of distribution of sales taxes is a fair one, and the fact that Chesterfield may have to contribute more to the pool is not really unfair, because our residents shop in Chesterfield. And so that there's no reason why they shouldn't get some return on their investment. A city like Glendale, we don't have any sales tax base, and we were, you know, but our residents do shop in these areas, Brentwood or Frontenac or Chesterfield or Fenton particularly, and it's not an unfair system for them to receive, to participate in a pool of sales tax and require these cities to contribute some of the sales tax revenue to this pool, so that everyone can benefit from the sales tax that's being paid in St. Louis County.
Yeah, it almost has to work that way, or there'd be so many cities that really have very, very difficult things. Like Glendale, we have a very small retail base, so, you know, we would have a difficult time.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
I have to do this again.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Rich.
You bet. Okay, thank you.
Enjoyed all the information about Glendale, and congratulations on your 100th year anniversary.
Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate everything you do and with the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for watching our show this evening. If you have any questions, you can contact me at www.cityofblackjack.com or call me at area code 314-355-0400. If you have any questions, Mayor McGee, let me know, and I'll pass them on to him, and he can follow up on them. Thank you. Good evening.
Our remember the moment.
I'll never forget that moment.
That moment?
It was a moment that changed my life. I'd been training with my team for months, and now we had been called up for the first time. The real deal. Wildfires were getting dangerously close to homes. At that moment, I got my first taste of just how important the Guard is to my community.
See how the Guard can be an important part of your life at NationalGuard.com.